We're going to begin tonight with Sheriff David Doak, who is going to talk a little bit about why he's decided to run again. And we question his sanity, but he's going to run again, so we're happy about that. We were trying to convince him to do it, and we're glad he's agreed to do so. David Doak, our sheriff, come on up and tell us about your running for sheriff again.
Good evening. I've had an opportunity at least once, maybe twice, to come out and speak to the Tea Party members, and I appreciate the opportunity to be able to come out again this evening. Looking back over the past couple of years, I just can't imagine that it's already time that I'm up for re-election. I do agree with Tom. I do think at times I need my head examined to do this another term. However, I have decided to take on that endeavor. I want to introduce myself to those of you who do not know me. I'm Dave Doak, and those of you who are interested in history, I'm the 52nd sheriff to serve in Portage County. I'll tell you a little bit about myself and what I bring to the table. I have 43 years of full-time law enforcement background. About 25 years of that is in supervision and management of police personnel. I've worked as a patrol officer, detective, sergeant, lieutenant, chief deputy, and now as your sheriff. I have deep roots in Portage County, and I'm a life resident. I live in Ravenna with my wife of 35 years, Linda, who's in the back. Our daughter Amanda and her husband Scott Casta live in Rootstown. They're also back there. And we were blessed this year with that little pride and joy in the back there, Elise, who's 7 months old and may be the youngest member to attend a Tea Party event. But that's enough about me. I don't view this election about Dave Doak as an individual or me as sheriff. It's about us as an agency and we as a community. It's about striving to keep the community safe, given the resources available. And that's been my commitment since taking office and will continue to be if I'm reelected. I'd like to talk a little bit about collaboration because that was something that, as chief deputy, I felt lacked in the county. Right now, we have quite a bit of collaboration going on, and we have for the past 3 years or so. We have one agent that is assigned who's working full-time with DEA. We have 2 deputies who are assigned with the United States Marshals Fugitive Violent Task Force. You may hear quite a bit about them in the news. The advantage that we have there is they work with the Marshals Task Force a couple of days a week. They put in time with the task force, and this is a regional task force where they go out into communities and elicit the help of other officers. I felt that it was worthwhile joining because what it brings to the table for us and all of you, if we have a fugitive within the county or someone that we really want to get our hands on, they're a phone call away, and we can field a lot of additional help that's not available within the agency because of resources. And the cost is only the hours that the deputies are spending with the Marshal Service during the week. So we're able to bring a lot of people to into the community if we have a fugitive out there. They also have been of great value. This past year we went out and decided that we were going to check all of the sexual predators within the county, and if my memory serves me right, there's about 195, 197. We took 3 days. This only took about 4 officers away from their duties within our agency, and they brought in a team of marshals. And within 3 days, we had checked the address of all sexual predators within the county. They have also come in and assisted us once or twice where we got on the computer and conducted some operations on child porn and that sort of thing, which resulted in some arrests. One did not make the paper because that case, I believe, is still pending, and that could go further. The Portage County Drug Task Force is another regional effort that we've made. That has been up and running for some time. I am pleased to tell you that we're hoping some additional agencies may come on board after the first of the year. There's been a lot of media coverage on the task force, and I can tell you as the director, I certainly appreciate the effort that they're making. I can also tell you as sheriff, the number one thing that we are concerned with within the county right now, the number one crime that is out there being committed is drug-related. When we interview inmates, if they're honest with us, and we look at bank robbers, burglars, paper crimes, computer crimes, a great deal of those go right back to the drug problem. These are folks who are strung out trying to feed a habit, and unfortunately, that's what we have to deal with in today's society. We also have partnered with the Emergency Management Agency and Department of Homeland Security. We have a real tight working relationship with them. That was something else that I felt needed mended when I took office, and we look forward to working with them in the future. Before I took office, there were 2 investigators who were assigned to the Jobs and Family Services. These are full-time detectives who deal with those cases, and we contract with them for that service. The good news is that we are getting money coming into the agency that they're paying for the 2 detectives. In other words, they're supporting their wages and benefits. That has worked out very well for our agency, because if we were not doing that, we would still have to investigate those cases. So it's a way to bring some money in, additional money, that typically we would not have without that contract. We also joined the Metro SWAT team. Again, in today's times, regional efforts are something that I think everyone in this business is looking at. I certainly can stand here as sheriff and tell you, with the resources we have available, there's no way we could afford to field a SWAT team. That's a very expensive proposition. You have to be awfully careful of the training and the requirements of the individuals involved, and it gets into a lot of expense. And in order to put a SWAT team out on the street, you're talking about probably around 15 to 18 officers, and there's just no way that we could do that. So collectively, everyone got together and put their heads together in law enforcement and said, well, let's do this as a multi-agency effort. And we jumped on board with that right after I took office. Currently, I believe we have 2 members assigned. It's a great insurance policy to have for the county. With a phone call, again, we can field probably up to around 25 officers if we needed them. The response time for those folks to show up, because it's a multi-agency involvement, is not quick. If we call a SWAT team, typically it's about a 45-minute to 1-hour wait. We have utilized them in the past, had very good success, and have a good working relationship with them. And I hope that continues, because there's just no way that we can afford to put a team like that here within the county. And again, it's a cost savings to the taxpayers to do that. I want to talk a little bit about CIT, which is Crisis Intervention Training. We work hand in hand with the Mental Health Recovery Board, and thus far we've trained about 165 officers within the county and throughout the county. And the training is focused on de-escalating techniques for those in crisis. And the reason that is important in today's times is because more and more we are coming into contact with folks who have mental issues. And this training is geared to teach the officers how to assess folks. We don't want to compromise the officer's safety, but there are red flags that during this training you learn, and it teaches us to slow down, step back, take a look at what's going on, and try to assess whether this person, why they're acting out. One of the big factors involved in the training is that we are trying to get away from using physical force to take these folks into custody unless it's an absolute necessity. And again, we're not going to compromise officer safety, but there's a lot of folks out on the street now with mental issues who are off their medication or self-medicating. And this training, I went through this, I believe, in 2007, and I was so impressed with it that one of the staff members I brought on board kind of founded this in Portage County, put the program together, and thus far, we've been able to train about 165 officers, and hopefully we're going to put everyone in the county through this at some point. We have also taken the training a step further. Major Masumi, who's involved in this, is taking the training out into the school systems and putting on kind of a mini CIT program for them to deal with students in the school. There are certain red flags and body language that you can read and you can de-escalate. And again, we don't compromise officer safety in order to do that, but I felt it was an important element that we need to be working with the mental health board. We're seeing more and more folks out on the street now with mental issues and in crisis, and it's a lot of nice tools to have in our box to deal with those folks. Another thing I wanted to try to accomplish as I took office was a working relationship with other agencies within the county, and I think we have accomplished that. We work very well with the other law enforcement agencies in the county, and I don't care if they have a municipal badge, a sheriff's badge, a trooper's badge, we're all in this together, and in today's times, we've got to watch each other's back. If you took a map of Portage County and you look at the southeast corner of the county, other than Brimfield, any place south of 76, there are no police agencies down there. And quite frankly, it worries me to have deputies out in that area. Typically on a shift, we're fielding 4, perhaps 5 deputies and 1 supervisor. On a good night, we'll have 6 people on the road. Those kind of numbers concern me when you have the same sort of numbers in the city of Kent within about a 2.8-mile radius, and we have 503 square miles to patrol. So having backup out in that area is a concern of ours with the manpower that we have. We have also been able to work close with the Ohio State Highway Patrol. We assist them with sobriety checkpoints in the past, and we'll continue to do that in the future. And I would like to throw some roses their way this evening. Recently, we had a couple of hombres that decided that they were going to shoot at a Ravenna officer and wound up out at the arsenal. The State Patrol brought their SWAT team out, their special response team, and were very effective in the apprehension of those folks, along with the Metro SWAT team who responded. And I got to tell you that when you get an incident like that in the middle of the night and the phone rings and you run out there and you're scratching your head trying to figure out where you're going to get manpower, it's really nice to have, you know, that type of manpower available. We probably had about 50, 60 officers out there. And I would also thank the FBI for getting out of bed and coming out and helping with that as well. And they were going to bring in a SWAT team right after daylight if necessary to assist with that search. Another thing I tried to do was bring back the special deputies. These are deputies who, they're typically younger folks who want to volunteer their time. They're coming out of police academies. They're interested in law enforcement. And in the job market today, I like to think that our agency is involved some way in trying to get these folks into the field and get them out and help them get jobs. If nothing else, they're able to come out, learn a little bit about law enforcement, and maybe move on, even if it's to another agency, and help them career-wise to build their career. Once you get through the police academy, you have a time window there of about 4 years where you have to obtain a job in law enforcement, and if you don't, you lose all of those credentials. So by bringing the special deputies back, it has enhanced our manpower. We've utilized them quite a bit, particularly at fair time during the year. They come out and help us out. There's been numerous times we've called them out, and they volunteer their time. They put in about 16 hours a month per deputy. I do have to be a little careful with them, though, because I don't want them taking work away from full-time deputies, and that has been kind of an issue within the agency. But the full-time people have I think at first they were a little standoffish with it, but they have worked very well with the specials now, and I think that they're to a point now where they're comfortable that we're not trying to take work away from them. The other advantage we have is to look at these younger folks, and if we have part-time openings, we're able to put them in there. We're able to look at their work ethic and sick time, whether they show up, and it gives us some idea of their work ethic, and then we might move them into a part-time slot and from part-time into full-time. So we've had some success with that. Another thing we've tried to accomplish is to mend relations with fire and EMS. I think that we lacked that in the past, and we have made an effort. Now we try to have at least alert patrol cars if EMS is responding to calls, and let them know. The deputies hopefully are out there when EMS calls come in, and they're checking with those folks to see if they need anything. And again, we're responding to fire calls to assist with traffic control and what have you. We're also involved in some projects. We work close with Safe Communities. We have assisted them with the None Under 21 program. I don't know if any of you have ever attended that. They try to do this in the spring for the folks who are going to graduate, and it's to educate them and reduce alcohol use, particularly around prom time and graduation. The other thing that we've been very involved in is the What's Holding You Back campaign with seat belts. So everyone wear their seat belt when you leave here tonight. Click it or ticket, everybody knows that, right? We've also established a working relationship with Coleman Professional Services, and we have a program now, actually, that's being run by the court. And it's a diversion program where they're taking a look at folks who are able to be put back into the community and not in jail. And they're monitoring those folks very close. The hope is that this diversion program will keep some of the inmates out of jail. There's certain criteria that they have to meet in order to be on that program, and thus far it's worked out pretty well. Judge Oswick has been very active in that, and we have assisted in that endeavor as well. I want to talk just a second about some of the divisions within the department, and I guess if I would have read this information that someone did a lot of work on and put out, you have this in front of you, I wouldn't have had to write any notes for this evening. Gosh, I didn't know I had all these duties. There's actually about 43 mandated things that a sheriff is obligated to do. There's been a lot of controversy within sheriff's offices throughout the state if they have to maintain a road patrol. This road patrol thing has become quite a heated issue in some communities, and especially where they're looking at having to lay people off, because there are commissioners who say that that is not a mandated duty, and I'm here to tell you as your county sheriff, I don't care what this paper says as far as mandated duties. As long as I'm in this office, there's going to be a road patrol. We cannot afford in this county not to respond to emergency calls or someone in need of police service. Now, it may not be what you want in terms of resources or deputies, but I feel that I have a moral duty and obligation to the public to maintain a road patrol. So enough said on that. Some of the divisions within the agency would include Detective Bureau. I'm very proud of our Detective Bureau and what they've accomplished since I've taken office. No homicides unsolved. The evening that we were out on that incident in the Arsenal, one of our detectives, rather than staying around the scene to see what was going on, went back and started some work. And within 2 hours, had one of the individuals involved in that identified and had photos at the scene. This was 6 hours before they were even captured. So I'm pretty proud of the work that they do there. We have dispatch. That's a separate division. I might also bring up the fact that we've been able to upgrade some of our technology there. Hopefully, we're going to go live with computer-aided dispatch by about April. I'm not sure how to explain all of that to you. It's a lot of technology that's going to be very helpful down the road. And hopefully, off in the future, at some point, we're going to be able to have the mobile data terminals in the patrol cars. That information is very helpful to the officers on the street. We have also taken a look at, there had been some talk at one time in the county about centralized dispatch. And I'm not going to get into that whole thing right now. There have been some turf wars over that, and everybody wanted to go different directions. I just felt at this time that we needed to go with the computer-aided dispatch, and that was some technology we needed to get into place and get it moving, and hopefully we'll get these mobile data at terminals in the cars. What the mobile data terminals accomplish for the officers is that the dispatch can actually print information on the screen, not to mention the fact that the officers or deputies don't have to get on the radio and call in to get information. They can type that right in on the computer in the car. They can also do reports on those at some point and send that right into the records division, which saves manpower, personnel, and so forth. So we're looking forward to perhaps getting that off in the future. We also have the civil division, which serves all of the civil papers. That has to do with, unfortunately, foreclosures. We have seen far too many foreclosures in this county. I believe it was 2010 we exceeded 1,000. That's a lot of people that lost their homes and jobs. That also had a direct impact on the economy here and what we're able to do as a sheriff's office. We have a Marine Patrol. One of the reasons we got involved in that, again, we were able to bring some money in through a grant. We have to patrol the waterways no matter what, and we take calls out there. So we were able to get a grant and pick up the salaries of the deputies involved in that. And that as well has been a savings for the taxpayers. We have 3 canines now that are active. One is utilized on an on-call basis. The good thing is the guy that has that dog is the DEA agent, and if we have to call him out, DEA picks up the overtime for that. So that has worked out well as well. We've also taken over, we are mandated to provide court security. We have around 13 to 15 deputies working in the courts, but we've also taken on the administration building security. And I have to tell you that I feel a little better and sleep a little better at night knowing that's going on, because we do have some armed personnel up there in uniform with arrest power now. There's a lot of folks that go in and out of that building that have issues with folks inside there from time to time. So it makes me sleep a little better knowing that we do have some security there now. And the other thing that I want to speak very quickly on is the CCW, the carried concealed weapons. Our office is trying to process those as fast as possible. And I've been told that a lot of the instructors now are sending people into Portage County, because you can be in an adjoining county and come to Portage and get the license. We are able to process those pretty quickly. Although they only work 3 days a week. I don't have the numbers, and I should have brought those, but I can tell you that they stay pretty busy over there. And we were able to pay for the salary of the Barry Lyons, the guy who issues the license and takes care of all that, and the secretary out of those funds. Some new programs that we're looking at. Any of you ever heard of Alice? You have? Okay. One of the things that we wanted to look at was school safety. There's a program out there now known as Alice. It's Announce, Lockdown, Inform, Counter, and Evacuate. We have been out and talked to some of the school officials, and we're hoping to perhaps implement that in the schools. One of the things that I certainly have a concern about is our response time to the schools, because it's not quick. If we had to leave the office, get to the schools, we're talking about probably, unless a deputy was right in that area, we might be looking at a 15 to 17 minute response time, and that's from our office to the schools. Hopefully someone would be there quicker than that, but God forbid if we ever had a shooter inside of a school, the last thing that I want is people locked down in that school. I would much rather have them being evacuated and getting into a safe area so that we can assess that much quicker. So that's what that program is about. I'm going to talk a little bit about the inmate work program. And I brought some paperwork in the back. We have started to use inmates because of budget constraints and what have you. There's about 34 things that are listed on this sheet, and I'm certainly not going to go through all of those. One of the things that we felt we could do with the inmates is start using a lot of their time to better service. Let me put it that way. We have them washing and waxing the fleet of cars. They have painted our entire building, and I'm 110 gallons of paint sticks in my mind that they put on the walls there. Thank you. We also, because of budget constraints, took a look at our cleaning contract, and we wanted to utilize the inmates as much as we could without really getting, taking jobs away from somebody. We took a look at that contract, which cost us about $37,000 a year. We were able to put about $25,000 back into towards road patrol and deputies by taking over that cleaning contract. And there's numerous other items that they have been involved in there. We actually have the inmates cleaning the office now. They come in and clean my office. That makes me a little nervous at times, but they are very well supervised, and I'm not going to tell you that at some point something couldn't go sideways with that program. But I felt that it was something that we needed to do in order to save some money. Again, I have some things listed here that if you'd like, I have this paperwork in the back. I've also brought a 2009-2010 annual report. I want to thank Major Dale Kelly for putting that report together. That's a lot of work to put out a statistical report every year, and he's been able to do that. I'm going to be around here to answer any questions that you have. Be glad to do that. Again, I've decided to do this another 4 years. I would like to have your vote. It's been a pleasure to serve as your sheriff, and if you have questions, I will be around here. And again, thank you for permitting us to come out here tonight and talk to all of you. Thank you.